Hello once again, and welcome back to another Let's Discuss. Today I'm actually going to have a little bit more fun than I normally do, because normally I do games that I don't like, and I like this game. Won't stop me from kind of destroying it anyways, but I still really do like this game, and that's really good because it's coming out, this is coming out in a time in which the next two of these that I have, well, the next three of these that I have to do, that I plan on doing, is two games that I don't like, and a game that I haven't even played yet. So this is going to be a pleasant surprise. Alright, so last night I actually played through both episodes, episode 1 and episode 2 of Life is Strange, and I found it incredibly enjoyable. There's also stuff I hate about it, so, I mean, there's that, but I really, really did like it. I had a lot of fun with it. I loved every aspect of it. There were so many little beautiful things, a lot of attention to detail that we wouldn't normally see in other games, and it was just awesome. I really enjoyed it. I'm not sure what else to say. Man, it was just a lot of fun. I rather enjoyed it. But there are a lot of problems with it. Amateurish, very, very low level, amateur problems that could have easily been fixed and should have been fixed. And so that's what we're gonna talk about today. That's the thing. No matter, I couldn't look past. I mean, I could look past this because I actually did look past this. But at the same time, I really couldn't stop thinking about them. But then again, it never deterred me from ever enjoying the game. Unlike a lot of other games in which I completely hated. Other games I had so many problems with. Basically, the biggest one we're gonna include with this one is Telltale's Walking Dead, because all of the writing problems in that forced me out of the game at basically every turn in which I was starting to get into the game. So, I went from having basically zero enjoyment of that game. And in this game, I think this game has a bigger number of problems with it, and problems that could have been a lot easily fixed, would have been much easier to fix than The Walking Dead's Telltale, because the Walking Dead game was a convoluted mess of a massive problem that somehow got called one of the best games of the year a couple years ago, in which plot holes the size of a mountain somehow makes you pretend that it, was a masterpiece in writing, but whatever. So I believe this has more problems, but these problems, I believe these have more problems, and they would be easier to fix. Well, whatever. But whatever, we're going to talk about this. And it kind of boils down to three major things. One of those being, it's kind of pretentious. It's incredibly pretentious. Let's leave it at that. Well, I'll get into more detail about that, because that's a bit on the iffy side, and it's very subjective for this, but, I talked about this already in my Katawa Shoujo video. I'm going to talk about this again. It's very pretentious. This is basically the Garden State of video games, but good. That's what it is. But good. That's what we gotta put that line there. But good. I don't know. I guess I didn't mind Garden State that much, but it was definitely pretentious. The second problem is the fact that the choices are kind of bland and off, and some of them are. I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that there is some niceness. I can see either the choice playing out in the long run, either really bad or really good for me, or having it have some depth to it, or some of them are very superfluous. A lot of the problems I had with The Walking Dead was the fact that your choices didn't matter. Absolutely not a single choice mattered in that game. Telling me that this character that will eventually die in the same way as the other character. When I have two characters to pick from that I have to save, one or the other, rather than creating a false dilemma that's just there for retarded tension, just all you're doing is just giving me not a palette swap would be wrong, but just a reskinning of a character. That's it. You got one character and you got another character. Then nothing changes really. I mean, dialogue options change and stuff like that, but really, ultimately, they're both gonna get shot to death, and one of them's gonna die now, and then the other one's gonna get shot to death, no matter what you do, which is all kinds of fun. So, there was a few problems with that. There was a few instances of that, and I really didn't have. Most of the choices though were either too small to to even care whether it was going to be superfluous. I can't pronounce words right now. Superfluous. Whether there was going to be a pointless choice and without like any value to it, or whether that value or choice was going to be there or not. And then there was a lot of fake tensiony stuff sometimes, which we'll get into that. Actually, I think we're going to get in that right now, and then we'll jump back into the Garden State thing. Yeah, one of the biggest problems I had, and this was mostly with episode 2. One of the biggest problems I've had with this game was the fact that in the start of episode 2, well, not the start, I guess in the middle, I don't know. The main character, Max, her nose starts bleeding when she uses her powers. Now, this does a lot of stuff. One, the nose, the physical damage to the character because of the superpowers is such a cliche that it becomes not cliched and then circles around again to become cliched again. That's how cliche this thing is. I've seen this so many times in so many different mediums. Now, that doesn't automatically make it a bad thing. Like, it doesn't automatically say, oh, this is going to be a bad thing, but it does automatically put it on my radar to watch out and say, hey, this may be a bad thing. This probably will be a bad thing. There's plenty of things in which it's not. Gantz, for one, just one off the top of my head. I love Gantz. Oh, man, I love Gantz. But no, in Gantz, some of the superior alien race that has given all the humans and stuff their super technology has come to Earth and given a select group of people some superpowers, and then those group of people give other people superpowers. It's basically they give them telekinesis. They mess with something in their brain, and they can use their brain to do stuff. This power actually turns out to be just eating their body alive. Apparently, the one guy went to like a doctor appointment or something like that, and he said he had the insides of like a 50 or 60-year-old, and he was like 22 or something like that. He was a young kid, and he had the insides of an old man. And then that's when he warned his younger guy that he gave the powers to as well. He's like, don't use your powers; it's gonna kill you. Blah blah this, blah 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 that. And it does, and it does create the tension that's like supposedly there, because that's what this cliche here is to do. It's to create either a false dilemma or it's to create cheap and lazy tension. And it does create that tension there, but there's so much more merit to it. There's all this, there's a lot of this whole extreme, like, because of the events in the series, the guy starts going a little crazy, and the younger guy, not the older guy that gave him the powers, the youngest guy, we follow this guy, and he basically commits like this like giant genocidal act out of revenge against this alien race, where he wipes out an entire like shopping district of innocent aliens not really doing anything. But, at this time, we're kind of like, oh, dumb aliens, But, wipe out the entire, wipe out all the aliens and stuff like that. And it was this really impactful, like, hate-filled, spite-filled moment and all this stuff. And then there's a bunch of build-up to some other stuff. And then at the very end, there's this beautiful moment of redemption and stuff. And it's just absolutely wonderful. So it can be done. I'm just saying it's not normally done well. I could probably find a few more good ones, but I'm not even going to find the good or the bad ones. We need to talk about this game. Alright, so it shows up at the diner scene that she starts nosebleeding, and I instantly sit there and go, oh no. Yeah, so we are on the second episode. We are only on the second episode, so there's 3 that I have not played yet, because it's not out. So there are 3 games that I have not played, so maybe this pays off in the end, and there's like justifiable reasons for there being this thing, or even then just well written aspects involving the narrative with this. The problem is that it was created in the second episode, and at the end of the second episode, when you're forced to save, well, throughout the entire episode, it's this arc about this thing building up, that you're forced to save, and at the very end, you're forced to save. I can't even remember her name, but she was the Christian that got slut shamed. That right there is where this is the big problem. It's where this comes into. It's that false tension, that false dilemma stuff. And so let's discuss this a little bit right now. Well, how does this work? How does the bleeding thing work? In narrative, it really can only work 2 ways, unless of course it has something to do with like the weather or something. Like unless it has something to do with all the weird stuff going on in the background, which it might, but that would just cause some like that. Like her powers are almost clearly caused by that, but why would her bleeding and her internal damage be caused by the whatever? So it's normally caused by either one of two things. Either it's a general thing where you just slowly they have just slowly built up to it. So like all the crap you did in the first game just basically really destroyed your body, and so then from now on it'll just your body will just you'll hemorrhage blood from now on. Also causing really like if this would have been like in the fourth or third episode, that would have worked a bit better. But now I'm like, hey, we've got 3 episodes to look forward to of this same thing over and over again. Yay, fun, unless they fix it. So either it's a general build-up over time, which would kind of suck, or it's just a hard, like, single moment, you do too much time travel stuff, you're gonna get damage. Which, that's, both of those have issues for me. Like, one of them, narratively, just causes so many problems, and it's this artificial wall that just, it hits you, and it's like, if you're paying any attention to the narrative, it's like, oh crap, this is gonna be a thing we gotta deal with for the rest of the time. And then the other one, which is just one hard build-up, it's like, there's like continuity disagreements in this, because I've used like in the first game I used that power like crazy, just doing all kinds of stuff, checking every single response and stuff, and just enjoying the game. So from a gameplay mechanic standpoint, I would be dead. I would just be dead by the end of the first episode. So that's where both of these things come into play. And I really wish it was, if it was just not there at all, it would significantly improve the game. Like the fact that just a simple limitation of how long you could rewind could have been the thing that causes all the tension in the one with the one woman trying to kill herself. It would have been really nice. Sorry. Well, I guess it really didn't. Yeah, I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. I guess spoiler alert. All right, but the thing is, and like I said, it definitely does do this episode 2 of the game, it does the damage of the lazy and unnecessary tension. It's just pointless drama for drama's sake at this point, and that was what it was in the second episode. Because there's this whole thing about I didn't even sweat it once, I knew what it was doing immediately. It was like, oh, I can't use my powers. Oh, no, I can't. Oh, what am I going to do? I'm forcing myself to do all this crazy stuff. But, I really don't. But it didn't kill her. The fact is, it should have done a lot more damage to the character. It should have done a lot more damage to the character to do what she did. So there's, the pointless drama. There's, it didn't do, you set this thing up and yet you're not using it. Which I'm glad you're not using it because, it's second game. Let's hold off on this whole we're gonna die kind of thing a little bit, maybe. But I don't know. I really don't know. But whatever. But it's just that there's that thing that's what we did in order to get onto the rooftop before she killed herself. It would have been, that would have pushed us over to some kind of permanent damage, maybe. But whatever. But the biggest problem is the fact that it's been false tension the entire time. You hit it in the beginning, it's like, oh no, this is the first time in the diner, you're like, oh no, this is kind of a serious thing. Then you have a thing in the junkyard where you're doing the shooting thing, and you're like, oh no, the shooting thing. Oh no, I'm hurt. And then you do the thing where it's like, oh no, I can't do my powers now. I have to save her without using my powers. Which, mind you, as long as you actually took care of her, which you should have, she got date raped, you might want to take care of her. Yeah, outside of that, I mean, if you would have just done the things necessary to help her, which I did. I mean, I wiped the stupid boards off. I constantly talked to her. I told her it's gonna be okay. We're gonna get this guy and all that fun jazz. As long as you're willing to do that and remember the note that's I guess that would have been something that would have tricked some people up. That's but I did remember looking at the note because basically it was this moment where everyone hated her. I think her church sent her a note or something stupid like that, or someone sent her a note that was in was it a proper letterhead and all that fun jazz. And it seemed like it was from the church. I don't know, but there's dialogue to go against that, so I'm not sure. I might be misremembering it. But her dad was all like, "I love you, darling. Don't get mad." He sent her a postcard. It was kind of neat. And I was like, "Oh, that's adorable." And it's that would be the only thing I could see you tripping up on, but it's yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. But no, it's just, I just don't see, I Yeah, but that's the problem. It's like that's the only problem I could think of if you didn't remember that. In fact, the father really loved, really loves her, and so that'd be the only part. But it's like there's this like the whole thing was like, oh, you can't rewind time. You need to do this. You need to do that. You don't have any ability to control this stuff. And that was a fake tension. It's like, oh, I can't use my power. I guess I got to do this all by my lonesome. And so that's where the fake tension comes in. It was like that was easy to deal with. I didn't have any problem to deal with. I had more problems dealing with other things. And it really did. I think it really does harm this game pretty extensively. Like from this being an amazing and fun and great game to just like hits it on the artistic level to where it's kind of not art. It's just a toy with such decisions like this, limitations and stuff. Oh yeah, well, I guess we'll just talk about the pretentious stuff now. Oh yeah, I found this to be like a lot of the dialogue, most of the dialogue is so on point, and so there's such an attention to detail and keeping characters consistent and stuff like that. It's kind of incredible. I really enjoyed it. I loved every bit of it. I'm about to be a hypocrite real quick. I loved so much of it, and it was a lot of fun. But there's also a lot of cringeworthy things. Some of which come from the fact that, just the fact of the environment, like just the environment themselves. Some of them being from like I think maybe a younger girl's perspective, which is they're 18. I think they're too old because they're not going to university. They're not going to a college. They're going to a high school unless she's in her senior year at this school. At this high school, I don't. Yeah, that's another thing. Whatever. But there's just this. There's a lot of people talking and using terms, and it's like, ugh. Like, would you really say that? Like, our kids these days, like, it sounds like an old people going like, yeah, a kid would say, how do you do, cowboy? That's the kind of feel I'm getting from this. It's like some of the dialogue. It's like. I could probably kill myself, and it would be better than listening to this dialogue anymore. But for the most part, it's actually really good. I like it because it's incredibly charming. It's got a good flow, good narrative flow, and it's incredibly charming. And it's like it feels like after you get used to the stupid like language, like the stupid terms they use, which maybe I don't know. I'm not that young. And even then, when I was a cynical kid. I basically, whenever one kid would use like handshakes and bumps and wearing their clothes a special certain way, I'd be like, "Why are you doing that, you douche?" So I was a cynical bastard back then. When I was younger, now I'm just like, we all need to die. So I'm far more cynical than I ever used to be. But yeah, that's what's But no, so maybe I'm just getting that. Maybe that's just me. But once you get into their world and you kind of get a feel for what they're thinking and what they're doing. It gets much better, but this is it's horribly pretentious, and not because. And this is where this becomes very subjective, and even then I argue with myself here because some of the time it seems like Life is Strange is in on it, like it knows it's being pretentious, and it's like, haha, look how pretentious these kids are, because well, I will get into the whole art student thing. And then other times it's like they're just like it's like it's not in on the joke. It just thinks that these characters are super deep and involving, and it's like and then I'm laughing like, look how pretentious these kids are. So either way, but no, that's where it comes from. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that I'm technically an art student. I'm not a very good one. I do my CG work, but I mean, I can't illustrate. I can't. Photography class sucked. But it's just because I know I don't go to a good art school either, so it doesn't really matter that way. But no, because of the people, like, I've been around the art students, I've been around the fedora tippers, I've been around those people, and art people, oh yeah, they're horribly pretentious and they're massive assholes, and they ought to be beaten to death. Because they really don't do anything for the world. They just bring more bad into it. But no, that I have been there for the pretentious. I've seen these kids. I've seen how they talk. There's literally, like, for our senior thesis, like, the kids are now calling themselves creatives. Like, that's what they're calling themselves. They're not artists anymore. They're not artists. They're not graphic designers. They're not, they're not, like, writers or photographers and like they're creatives. That's what we are. We're creatives. We create things. We're creatives. And it's that kind of level of pretentiousness that I absolutely hate. And let's just pretend like, because if it's the joke is laughing at it, I mean, I enjoy that. I actually do enjoy that, but I still hate it because I so oppose that. Like, I have to deal with that. Like, I have teachers. There are legitimate teachers in my school that kind of think like that, and I would stab them to death if I had a terminal illness, just because you ruin the art. Like, you ruin the amazing thing of art. Like, I love art. I think art is like the most beautiful and greatest thing ever because it allows you to think and feel and do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do just by standing around. But when you sit there and think that you're better just because you can doodle or just because you can use Crayola or you can take a picture, it's like that pretentious attitude is so disgusting to me. So even if it is like completely knows that its characters are douchey and like fake deep and all that fun jazz, it's still a very big negative for me just because I can't enjoy that. I'm sitting there like, because it's like being a mailman like for 40 years of your life and then going home and playing a video game about sorting mail or watching a movie that's about sorting mail. It's that kind of thing. I don't want to bring that crap home, And that's the reason why I had a problem with Katawa Shoujo, is because that's what it was. It reminded me of all those stupid, like, oh yeah, the very first scene we have in this game that has any kind of like interactivity or choice, well, real interactivity or choice, it's a lecture about photography, and I about rolled my eyes out and died a little on the inside. The only thing I was happy about was the fact that we kind of didn't take it seriously. I was like, yeah, that's great. But no, it's like this whole thing, since it's based around an art school, it just feels awful. And it's got this weird, like, whole, like, holier than thou, I'm big and bad and all that fun jazz. Oh, man, it's just, it's a problem. It's a problem. So yeah, that's just it. It's disgustingly subjective from my perspective. I mean, disgustingly subjective in general. Just because, like, well, one, like, you might not know, like, if you don't have to deal with it, like, a bit of pretension isn't gonna hurt you. You might roll your eyes at the guy, but like, you might roll your eyes at the guy or the girl, whoever the artist is or whatever. You might go, ugh, you are really a good, well balanced, intelligent human being there, son. But you can handle it. This I really can't handle. I mean, it's just a problem for me. Like, it doesn't last all that long because you don't spend a whole lot of time doing your art thing. You're just a little kid. Like, it just seems like you're just a little kid taking photographs, which I can get behind. I can enjoy that just a little because it's more about a character thing rather than just it's a profession thing. It's more, hey, I like taking photos. All right, and then we have some of the choices being, excuse me. Some of the choices being like pointless or I guess pointless in this game is incorrect. It's not that it's pointless, it's the fact that it's incredibly underwhelming. One of the one that bothered me the most, because I'm going to talk about two examples. Both of them are in the second game. The one that bothered me the most was the choice whether you shoot or don't shoot Frank. I was kind of upset about that one. Basically, if you choose don't shoot Frank, he just walks up and takes the gun from you going, haha, what a strong and independent kid you are, haha. And when you try to shoot Frank, you don't have any bullets in the gun, and it's like, hey, he doesn't take the gun from you this time, which is weird, but he just says something about, he says something stupid about, it's like, maybe next time put bullets in the gun, kid, and then the funny thing about it is, like, it's just this underwhelming. The choice feels like there's no point to it. He's like, I'll remember you, and it's like that's the thing is up until the fact that like other than the fact that the nose bleeding and stuff, it's like you do know that I have the ability to time travel, right? Of course he doesn't, but it's like as a player, I'm like I can't really care what you think. Like, I could do anything I want. I could time travel. Like, you can stab me, bam, rewind time. I'm not stabbed anymore. As long as you don't, like, blow my head off with a shotgun or something like that, you ain't gonna do anything to me. But I digress. But no, the choice seems so underwhelming, and then I was sitting there thinking about, like, What would have been better? This and that. I kind of really would hope. I thought it would have been really good, like a really good moment that you could have kind of taken with you, in which you shot this man, whether you killed the man or not, or whether you could have killed the man. That would have been kind of like really like a hard hitting moment. It would have been, I think it would have been pretty neat. But you could have had him shot and it would have been hit in the shoulder or something like that. But then it came to me. It's like there's a continuity error here, or at least it's just stupid. So she puts 6 bottles up, and your friend Chloe, she puts 6 bottles up, and she starts talking about how we're not going to waste a single bullet. We're gonna break all these bottles without wasting a single bullet. And so you shoot at the bottles twice, and you gotta tell her to shoot right, and then you gotta tell her to shoot up, and then bam, bam, first 2 bottles down, 2 bullets shot. Then she's like, oh, let's get some trick shots in. So you shoot this metal piece, and she shoots the metal piece, and it ricochets and breaks the bottle. And you're like, oh, that's so cool. Let's do some really stuff. And then she shoots the tire of the car, and the car kind of flips over and smashes the other 3 bottles. So basically, you have 4 shots. You have 4 shots, breaking 6 bottles. Really cool. Oh, man, we're the best gunslingers in the world. But there's a huge continuity error here if you don't know. 1, she said, let's break all of these bottles without wasting any bullets. Meaning that she probably put 6 rounds in the gun. 2, let's pretend, like, the only way this would work, like, rationally, thinking about it, the only way this is going to work is the fact that it's either it's a 4-cylinder revolver, which that is weird to me. Why? Because that's what you're saying, sitting in there. Why would you not have 6 bullets in the gun? That's the only reason why when you shot, it didn't fire. That's the only reason why when you shot, there's a bullet that didn't come out of the gun. And which is like, I started noticing this continuity once I pulled the trigger and I didn't have a bullet. I was like, why don't I have a bullet? I can, count the number of shots fired. You should have 2 bullets in that gun, because you don't load a revolver with 2 empty chambers for no reason. Especially when you expect to shoot 6 bottles, and you're planning on using 6 bullets. But whatever. 6 bullets. So you're missing the 2 bullets, and it's just like, it's this scene that would have been so much better if 1, it didn't exist. If you just cut it out, it'd have been fine. I know it's going to create drama later on, but it's like, whatever. It's just if it didn't exist, it would have been better. Or if there would have been more at stake, it would have been better. Like if you would have had a literal loss of innocence there, where you shot and probably even killed a man. But no, as it turns out, I didn't mind the decision. It's just it could have been so much better. The one decision I think is probably the worst decision that you can make in the game, from both you having to pick decision and the implications of therein kind of decisions. Like what difference going to happen? It's the very last decision you can make in episode 2, and it's who do you blame for Kate trying to kill herself? Which I can't believe I just remembered Kate out of nowhere. Like who do you blame? There's 2 options that are like kind of reasonable, because one guy, the whole reason why she's having the problem she is having, outside of the fact that Victoria set her up in order to kind of hurt her because she was being preachy, is the fact that you've got the one Nathan, the douchebag kid, rich parents, got the silver spoon stuck up his butt, filmed her, roofied her, and then possibly even raped her, which we haven't really discussed that too much, which we ought to have discussed that a little bit more, because we kind of discussed it with Chloe. He probably raped her, which is kind of effed up. But, we have either Nathan to blame for this recent suicide. We could go to Daniel, or whatever that guy's name is, the ex-military dude that's just crazy. Who he has been stalking and yelling at her, that's a bit more reasonable. Like, that's not a far second step down. I mean, it's still a pretty big step, but it's not nearly that much. Like raping a girl and yelling at a girl. Like, there's more to it than him yelling at her. There's something else, but we haven't been told yet. But from what we can see, from what the choice we can see, it's one raped her, the other one, poked at her and yelled at her and told her, you gotta quit doing what you're doing, and getting in her face. And then there's the art teacher. Then there's the photography teacher, and that was funny because it's like 3% of the people picked the photography teacher, and I just couldn't understand. Like, why would you pick that? Like, why in the world would you pick that? Like unless what that teacher said was like some of the most sick and depraved things to her, must so messed up, so awful, so horrible, and it could have been. Who knows? Unless what that teacher said was terrible, like was wrong. Like there's nothing to like. What are we gonna say about that? I mean, like he in all likelihood he said something like, I need you to stay in class and this, like could you? I need you to. You need like maybe it kind of like maybe it pushed. He probably pushed it back to her a bit, like. You have to control your, you have to control your responses and all that fun. Just because I know, because she kind of got upset with me when I told her don't go to the cops because you know what, when Nathan date raped you and the whole town is owned by Nathan's parents, Nathan ain't gonna get in trouble for raping you. That's just history. There's like 12 million cases of that. It happens. It's called nepotism, and it's called money. But so it's like that's why I'm not telling her that because I'm like, no, we'll kill Nathan eventually. Just let me find the proof, and then we can stab him to death, and it'll be all good. You'll have your vengeance, and Nathan will die. It'll be fun. Yeah, but that's what it's like. Whatever he could have there's like almost nothing he could have said that could have it would have been the deciding factor whether she killed herself or not. Like, maybe it was just something that just tipped her over the edge a bit, and it's like, oh, like, that, it would be the stick that broke the camel's back. It wouldn't have been, the camel getting shot in the knee and collapsing. It's like, yeah, so I don't even know how people picked that. Well, maybe it was just like, maybe they rewind all three of the options, because, at this time, you get your powers back. Oh, no. So you might have rewind through all three of your options and found out, what sounded the best, which one got to the best results. But I was like, no, we're going to do Nathan. Because that's what the thing is. If I blame Nathan, what happens, If I blame Nathan, what happens? Like, he already has been in my room, which is kind of messed up, and painted all that blood on the wall. Oh, I don't know. Oh, and that's another thing, is the ending of this had some problems in it, too. Victoria was crying for some reason. Maybe it was the fact that Nathan was coming in to get a blowjob or to get sex and stuff like that. And Nathan has forced Victoria into kind of a servitude position. Maybe it was because of that. I don't know. But the fact is, everything else seemed to be like it was this weird it was kind of showing different moments between like the principal and the teacher yelling, like kind of like having a discussion about stuff. And it was like showing all this weird stuff in the background, and it was showing Chloe and Max like texting each other, and it was doing like a bunch of nice shot stuff. So it made it all seem like it was all revolving around the incident that happened. And then basically Nathan walks in, and it's Victoria's just sitting there crying her eyes out, and I'm sitting there going, why? Unless it's the fact that Nathan's getting ready to force himself onto her for whatever reason. Why is she crying? Because all I know is that if you don't remember it, I remembered it because I remembered what kind of tool she was filming. She was filming Kate going to kill herself. She couldn't have been too upset about the fact that Kate was going to kill herself because she was filming it. So it has to be about her being forced upon, but it's like, even then I'm like, I couldn't care. Like, you're the one that's going along with this, So, I don't know. That was just, it created a bit of narrative dissonance. No, that's not narrative dissonance. But it created, it made me kind of go, maybe I was in the moment, I was like, oh, Victoria's crying? I couldn't care less about that. Because she had a good helping hand, and Kate attempted to kill herself, too. But she didn't get in trouble. No, let Nathan do it. But whatever. There's also a lot of other things. This is way more than the subjective stuff, but I think this could have been a much, like, the limitation of the main character being a thin, very weak girl. I think it does a lot. I like the narrative aspect of it is, I think, very fun, and I like the fact that it's a female main character. I really do enjoy that. The thing that I don't understand, the thing that I think I would have preferred. The thing I would have preferred is the fact that if the main character was, I kind of want to see this from a different angle, because as is right now, the video game Life is Strange is very, very similar to The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. There's really, really obvious. There's really, really obvious. Like it's obvious that this game took a lot of inspiration from The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. And that's where like another problem came from is I'm not sure if it's because The Girl Who Left Through Time, or maybe it's because I have consumed a lot of media and I've kind of been able to predict how things go from time to time, a lot of the time. But like this has been a pretty predictable series so far, and it has followed, at least in the first two episodes, like the narrative flow of The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. Like she learns she just has powers. She tests those powers out. She learns that those powers have consequences. And it really does feel a lot like The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. It's really, really, like, if you think, just like, there's going to be consequences because of her manipulating time. That's not just her. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff involved with that. But it's a really heavy influence of The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. So I think so that's why I wish there was a difference, because, I mean, there already is A Girl Who Leapt Through Time. The Girl Who Leapt Through Time is such an awesome, fun movie. And we already have that, so I wish we had something different, you know? Like, we could have had, like, if this would have been a psychopath who had this power, that would have been very neat. Or maybe not even a psychopath, but maybe just a mega like an evil, egotistical douchebag. I think that would have been, like, a change of pace where someone would have abused this power to, they're all completely, but it sounds like this is, like, it's leading into, I think it's hinting at the fact that this is some kind of Native American power that's been bestowed upon her by the area, I think. By, like, the surrounding landscape. But I don't know. Maybe, it may not be. Who knows? But that's why. It's just speculation. But I think that's what it is, so, I mean, of course. But I think it would have been nice if it would have been a man. Like, if it would have been, like, a really, like, not just a guy. Not like Matthew or anything like that. No, like some guy who's like Bruce Lee, some guy who's built, some guy who can fight, some guy who can really do some damage, and having, it could have been a good guy too. I think I probably would enjoy that more. I think it could have been a good guy as well, and just have him deal with stuff because he gets to fight and he gets to do this stuff and that stuff, and like I don't mind the game as it is now. I really do appreciate it, but I really do appreciate it. And I really think it's really good, but I think it might have been able to been, if not better, at least different enough that I wouldn't have gone, oh, this is just The Girl Who Leapt Through Time in video game form. I think it would have been, if it was a psychopath, that could have been a lot of fun. It probably wouldn't have sold half as well, but I think it would have been a lot of fun if the guy or girl was legitimately crazy and was trying to use his powers for very evil stuff. If it was a guy, I probably would have liked it a bit more, just because of the fact that you had more options rather than going, don't hurt me. Because that's something that happens in The Girl Who Left Through Time. It's her physical limitations as a female kind of dictate some of the decisions she makes, and it's like this too. Like you couldn't fight the guy off, and Matthew got his face smacked in, and all kinds of crazy stuff, and you can't, you're having a hard time defending yourself against Nathan. It's like, no, if you're a dude, you just break Nathan's throat. You just punch him in the throat once, and he's just on the ground. And then you tell him, you want some more? Come get some. He broke into your room and smeared blood all over your wall. Yeah. But, no, but that's it. I found this game pretty enjoyable. I found it incredibly enjoyable. I did pre-order it before it came out, which I know you should be upset with me about that. I should be upset about that, because it's just like, you don't pre-order anything. There should be zero reason to ever pre-order a game ever. Never. No, you should never pre-order a game ever again. This is just it. Don't ever pre-order a game. But I did pre-order it because it was on sale and I wanted to get the whole thing. And I'm really big into point-and-click adventure games right now. I don't even know why. It's a genre that I don't even particularly like, and yet it's a genre that I'm constantly playing. And I constantly keep buying and looking for those games. Well, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But then this is pretty much point-click adventure game. It's just without the point. But no, I really enjoyed it so far, and I'm really happy with my purchase. It's been a really fun ride. Has problems, has some continuity errors, has some plot holes. Oh yeah, Chloe only loaded the revolver with 4 bullets and demanded that we somehow we would shoot 6 bottles with 4 bullets. What do you think you are, Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid. That's what I immediately thought of that reference. It was like, once I realized that there was only 4 bullets in the revolver, I was like, that's like Young Guns 2. And that's like Young Guns 2 when the guy does the thing where he's shooting the candles. And I'm like, oh, that's like Billy the Kid. Alright, well. I guess that's about it. We don't really have a whole lot more to talk about. That was a pretty good discussion, I think. No yelling, no screaming, no getting upset. Because that's what one of the next one's going to be. It's going to be about a developer that I don't like. Oh, no. So I hope you had some fun. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And I really hope that we could... I'm really hoping that this game gets better. The sad thing about it is because of the blood, because of the nose bleeding thing, it probably won't get better. It'll probably actually get worse as it progresses because the fake tension, the fake drama will get worse, and it'll be worse written because that's how these things typically go. And it's like, but I do have high hopes, and I have enjoyed it so far for what it is. Alright, so thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you're willing to pick up this game if you haven't been. It's a very, very fun game. Dialogue heavy, incredibly pretentious at times, but fun nonetheless. So thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you soon. Hopefully with something over a video game that's an actual review.